Welcome to the regular meeting of the St. Peter City Council. It is 7 p.m. on Monday, August 8th. We are called to order. Would all please rise for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any revisions or corrections to the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is approved as distributed. Next up, approval of the minutes. The minutes begin on page 4 of the packet. Are there any revisions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved as distributed. Next up, we have visitors' comments. I don't see any members of the audience, but I'm going to go through the motions anyway. We have time on our agenda at every meeting for visitors to address the council on any agenda item. Are there any visitors here who'd like to address us on an agenda item? Hearing none, we have general visitors' comments. Visitors may address the council on any matter whatsoever. I don't see any members of the audience wishing to address us. We will move on to approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda begins with a memo on page 7 and concludes with a resolution on page 22. The resolution includes the following items. But budgeted purchases in excess of $10,000 to Javens Mechanical for HVAC replacement at the wastewater plant in the amount of $43,138. And to Chem Corporation for a Smart 6 moisture analyzer in the amount of $13,100. The following employee appointment is approved at the wage indicated. That's Peter Flim, a patrol officer. The following license applications are approved contingent upon payment of the licensing fee and compliance with city code regulations. A temporary on-sale liquor license to the St. Peter Lions and a temporary gambling license to the St. Peter Lions, as well as the schedule of disbursements for July 21st, 2022 through August 3rd, 2022. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there a discussion of any consent agenda item? Carrie.
I have a question for Pete. So Pete, when we have the moisture analyzer and then the ventilator, those two separate items that are, it sounds like, in complete failure, not functioning, and then there's a lead time on that equipment. How are we making that work in the interim?
Right now, because of the warmer summer, we're just going without the room control. That's where our computers are that operate the area. So we have fans going right now. The ventilator that we're talking about here sits up in the ceiling and produces warm air and cool air during different times of the year in order to keep the computer room in good condition. So we are hoping that we can get to that point and get that unit ordered so that we can have it delivered in January.
Okay.
With the moisture analyzer that you had requested, this is the third time that we have purchased a moisture analyzer, and what that unit does is it measures the moisture within the biosolids so that staff can adjust the chemicals on site at the point of dryness.
So what do you do if it's not working anymore?
Then you have to look at your cake and do it in a different manner, and it takes a lot longer.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding items on the consent agenda? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Ram.
Aye.
Councilmember Scharstra.
Aye.
Councilmember Bruford. Aye. Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Next up, we have no unfinished business before us tonight, so on to new business. Adoption of a resolution authorizing 2022 equipment certificate purchase, ball field maintainer, and attachments. Pete.
Madam Mayor and City Council, as is our practice. This would be an equipment certificate purchase. We are looking to order off state bid a Toro Workman HDX field maintainer and an MTI field groomer that follows that unit. And they go in conjunction with each other, can be used separately, but most likely will be used together as a unit for ball field maintenance. As we mentioned, this would be an equipment certificate purchase. And as you know, the unit that we are replacing now, we brought that unit to you a couple of years ago, and we got asked to do a little bit of repairs, which you guys authorized and got us a couple more years of work, but now the unit's starting to fail again. And so we had budgeted for this purchase with our equipment certificate money, and we did get some competitive quotes related to the groomer. You can see those on page 24, ranging in price from $6.77 to $67.55. The Workman is a decent piece of equipment. It'll haul all of the materials that we need to at each of the sites and be used in conjunction with, again, the field groomer. This did come in under budget, what we had planned to do. And so we have a little extra funds there, but as you know and are aware, we did go over in a couple other areas, and so this is great relief. We're recommending the approval of the purchase, and we're asking for approval of the resolution on page 25 and 6.
Thanks, Pete. Any questions for Pete? I was just curious, you noted that this is a multi-use piece of equipment, and so it will be used for other things besides ball field maintenance?
Yes, it will.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right, well, hearing no other questions, the resolution before us on pages 25 and 26 of the packet, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Sherrstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember Blumenthal.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Ram.
Aye.
The resolution is
Thank you.
approved. Thanks very much, Pete. Next up, we have adoption of a resolution related to business license applications. We actually have two separate resolutions. The first one is regarding a peddler, a peddler license, yes.
That's correct, Madam Mayor. The information is included on page 27, and if you provide approval, Anita Teffentau would be allowed to be a temporary peddler within St. Peter. She's completed the appropriate documentation. We've done the best background checking that we could do related to this, and bond is provided actually this morning, so I think she's in good shape to move forward and meets all the criteria that you established within your city code. Resolutions on page 28. I would mention that renewals, as you might recall, of licenses go on the consent agenda. As this is a new license, that's why it requires separate action.
All right, thank you. Questions for Todd about this item? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Blumenthal.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Ram.
Aye.
Councilmember Sherrstrom.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Our next resolution is for the approval of a temporary gambling license application.
Mayor and members, this is for the Sweet Adelines. If you're familiar with the Sweet Adelines, it's a barbershop singing style group of women, and this is their first application for a temporary gambling license. This one is a little bit unusual in that you may have noted that the drawing will be held here at the community center, technically the library. They don't have any home office or anything like that, and it has to be done by state law in accordance with the rules in public when they do the drawing, and so they're going to do it here. They've met all the requirements that you have within your ordinance, and they're looking to do the drawing on the 29th of December. On page 30 is the resolution providing for approval.
Thanks. Any questions for Todd about this item? Hearing none, the resolution before us on page 30 calls for approval of a temporary gambling license application. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Ram.
Aye.
Councilmember Sherrstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember Blumenthal.
Aye. The resolution is approved. That concludes our business for tonight. We have reports. I'm first up. just wanted to remind everybody that there's an election tomorrow, and Minnesota has same-day registration, so don't let that keep you away from the polls. Many thanks to Barbara for all the work she does on elections, and of course to our election judges who really provide a wonderful service to our city and to the state and the nation as well. So also wanted to just take a moment to welcome Ben Baker, who's in the audience tonight. He's our new Community Development Director, and we are excited to have you on board and look forward to working with you. So that's all from me tonight.
Mayor, members, I have 3 reports that I want to provide. The first really is looking for you to provide reporting. First, we want to thank all the folks who volunteer and make efforts at Night to Unite. It seemed like a great time at a bunch of different locations, but I wanted to provide an opportunity if any of you wanted to comment about your experience with it. This is a great opportunity to do that. Again, thanking the volunteers, and at least I know in a few neighborhoods, people that I talked to had a great time. So,
Yeah,
Madam Mayor.
I know Carrie and Dustin attended. I don't know if either of you want to report.
I know you went around with the group, so why don't you report?
I went around and it was great seeing law enforcement's connection to the communities. Police Chief Grogan did a great job making sure his officers were present, engaged, interacting with kids. It was just an all-around good experience, even considering it was real hot.
Yeah.
And
it
in
was-
case it was missed, he did at one point in time run through the sprinkler hoses with the kids. 3 times. Yeah.
A couple of neighborhoods, fire trucks sprayed. It was fantastic. Woo, ah, you, oh, lots of people had fun. It was great.
Yeah. It was a great night. I went out as well, and despite the heat, I think it was just wonderful to be out in the community, and my neighborhood participates every year, and look forward to doing it again next year. So thanks very much.
Madam Mayor, members, the next item that I have is really turning it over to Pete for just a few moments to talk about a few things going on with seal coating, why we do it, and how to know we're coming to a block near you. So Pete, maybe something else too, but if you can cover those 2, that'd be great.
Sure. First of all, let me answer the why. Why do we do seal coating? It's a major portion of our street maintenance budget that you guys approve annually for us. We do seal about 100 blocks each year. Prior to sealing, we do crack sealing, which we come in and grind out the larger cracks and then fill them with the mastic. And then we also do pan patching, which is putting a thin layer on some areas and or replacing our larger sections with our paver, and then we come back in the following year and seal coat over the top of them. That preserves the life, keeps the water out, the oil out, the sun out. Just a lot of the things that get in and start raising havoc with our street maintenance system, and you are starting to see some improvements along our street processes right now. Part of that process also includes raising manholes and valves so that we don't have large bumps, and then keep our streets looking nice and well traveled.
A lot of good work happening this summer, though, so thanks to your crew and everybody who comes in and works for the city.
Right, and hopefully people are well aware of what we're doing. We do try to advertise on Facebook. We do have information in the city's hot sheet, and then also on the Public Works website and the city's website. We do have advertisements out there that basically say, here's what we're doing, here's our schedule. We do get a few calls from time to time. We also put up no parking, so that's usually where we get most calls is, why are the no parking signs up? Because we're coming through and we'll be cleaning up afterwards here shortly.
All right. Thanks, Pete.
Madam Mayor, the last one that I have is just to mention that as a part of the state law, when you have a closed session, we're obligated to report what we talked about. In this instance, from July 25th, you talked about it at your last workshop and are going to talk about it at your upcoming workshop, which is a potential lease of what we call old library lot, located at 101 or 107, depending on which map you look at, Nassau Street. So wanted to mention that, a potential lease of that, what I would call blank lot. There's no building there anymore, but that's been in place for a number of years. Madam Mayor, that's all I have for you for this evening.
Any other reports from anybody? Carrie?
I just have one. I went to the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities Conference the week before last, and that was held in Red Wing. And I think, attending those is really valuable. You kind of get out of it what you put in, and so I spent a lot of time going around to different tables, meeting other elected officials, staying really engaged in all the sessions, and taking advantage of some of the social opportunities too. So one thing I wanted to share with the council and others who are watching, one thing that they're asking for is that we sort of advocate for a special session if we feel like we want to reach out to Governor Walz. One of the reasons why it would be in our best interest to do that is because in this last session, local government aid was on the table, and there was a lot of work put into that, adjusting the formula, allocating more, requesting the opportunity to allocate more funds. And so the work is not done in a lot of ways, but LGA is something that we could advocate for individually as elected officials to the governor to call a special session. There was a great article in the Mankato Free Press today about inflationary costs and how we have to consider that in budgeting time, which is happening very, very soon. LGA has not kept up with inflation. It lags, and so the more we can advocate for local government aid, the better. So that was their big ask. Also, their dues are going up just a little bit, but I still think being a part of Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities is a really good opportunity for us, especially as there's going to be some shifts in representation between the cities and Greater Minnesota. That's all I had. Thank you.
Well, thanks for that report, and thank you for representing St. Peter at the coalition meeting.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything else? Hearing nothing further, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, just want to point out,
Happy to take it.
7:14 when you started.
If I'm here, we're gonna make it
You came a long way to get to you. You deserve that. No record breaking here.
No, funny. Funny.
On the, to the record, I did not look at the clock at all.